It's Tara Kikaver with Network Next Gen, and this is From the Middle Seat. Just updates on Network Next Gen life and what we've been doing the last few weeks. Typically, I'd be coming to you from an airplane in the middle seat because this is a startup baby and this is how we roll. But now I'm coming to you from a much more comfortable living room to give you an update on what we've been doing since the start of all of the COVID situation. So March 30th, we started doing calls with all of our designers across the United States. We had calls per city, and then we've also recently this week started national calls where we've been bringing our next geners together. So we've done 23 calls with 129 designers, all from different firms across the United States. And here is a recap of some of the big ideas that came from those calls and the information we've received. Sponsors, you'll be receiving a more detailed version, so check your inboxes for that. Here we go. Number one, firm overview. How has your firm been handling this? So number one, firms really reacted quickly. We're able to get everyone set up at home pretty well. Across the country, there's a few hiccups with technology. Firms are usually using Zoom, Teams, and Bluescape, but there's a lot of different programs that people are using in addition. Number two, firms have been extremely transparent with all of their staff, which is really awesome to see. It's quite the contrast from 2008 to 2012. It seems like firms have been very proactive instead of reactive, and they're really opening up the situation to all of their people, including finances, including where they're at as a firm, including their plan for attack for the future. A lot of transparency. Three, firms have been really focused on fostering community and bringing the firm together. They've been doing a lot of town hall meetings, either weekly, sometimes daily. They've also been hosting a lot of happy hours, and we've even seen those happy hours extend to outside of just certain offices. So bringing the cities together, which is great. A lot of our designers have said they've gotten to meet people they never would have, and they've gotten to know their principals a lot better. Number two topic, layoffs and furloughs. Across the country, we've seen pay cuts, a lot of pay cuts over layoffs and furloughs, starting from top down, anywhere from 10% to 25%, starting at the top. We've seen encouraged time off, and then, a few layoffs and furloughs. It's actually not been as bad as we predicted. A lot of firms have not cut anyone. Firms are being very proactive versus reactive. They're very much including and being very transparent and upfront with all of their teams about why the layoffs are happening. But a lot of firms have kept everyone, and they've been very transparent on how they're keeping people, including the pay cut. Just this week, we've seen a lot of small businesses apply and actually be approved for the loan. So a lot of people have been welcomed back. But firms are definitely including the entire office in that discussion and being very transparent about the finances and how long they think things are going to go before they need to make another round of pay cuts or layoffs or furloughs. Number three, projects moving, projects being on hold. That's definitely something we want to discuss. It really seems different per sector, especially across the country. Especially DC and Miami seem to be really moving along the best from our discussions that we've had. But yeah, it seems pretty spread over all the sectors. Hospitality has certainly taken a bigger hit, but the ones that are going really well seem to be government, higher education, multi-unit. It really depends on commercial. That's hit or miss. But those seem to be cruising along pretty well. It really feels like instead of sector, it depends on what stage in the construction process they were. If they're into the construction phase, it seems like those are all moving forward. Schematic, design process, anyone who's just launching a project has seemed to be a little hesitant from the client end and put things on hold, especially if capital is low or they have investors. So a lot of our firms are looking for privately funded type projects right now, and that's been interesting. However, we do know that a lot of projects are being won. So within the last 2 weeks, we've had a lot of people say that their firms have won projects, which is hoping to balance out a lot of the projects that are on hold. Okay, number four, a lot of people wrote in questions about work from home. People are adjusting rather smoothly. Almost shockingly, there have been very little technology issues, but that seems to be the biggest thing if they can't get to the server. But other than that, they seem to be pretty much adjusting. Materials have been a little tricky. Obviously, people have relied on their reps a ton, but they've also relied on Material Bank and some other resources. So just trying to get materials has obviously been a little bit of a struggle, but that's going pretty well, it seems, across the country. Number 2, it seems like people are working more rather than less. And so knowing when to actually stop, cut off, and then go into your life when everything's happening together, that's been a huge struggle. Number 3, under work from home, they're craving community. I think we have to remember a lot of people are in different stages. So we have a lot of people who are brand new parents and they're trying to homeschool and work all at the same time. That's been hard. And then we have a lot of people who are single and they're by themselves. And so like when you're completely isolated, you're just craving community. And I think in general, whether you have kids or don't have kids, we've heard a lot of people just wanting to stay in touch. So definitely craving community, that's number 3. Number 5 on our topics, future of design. This has been a fun one. Trying to predict what's gonna happen after COVID is pretty tricky, but it's been interesting to explore what is design's impact on the future of design. How do we help the situation? And what can we do as designers to kind of help ease people back into quote unquote normal life after this whole thing is done? And what are we gonna see the demand and change for based on this situation? So there's 4 main points here. People have been talking about going back to the office, what that's gonna be like. A lot of people are hoping that this work from home being proven that it can work really well and they're really productive, that translates into their office. So maybe having 2 or 3 work from home days, a little more flexibility. They're hoping that proves to some of the leadership who doubted maybe if work from home was gonna work, that it did, and that they can work from home and kind of have a better life-work balance. Number 2, we have a lot of commercial corporate designers, so we've talked a lot about what the workplace is going to look like in the future. A lot of people are saying that instead of this open office environment, we're either going to see, kind of more of the private offices or panels come back, but definitely more space within the open office, more defined space, and just kind of spreading people out a little bit. That's been an interesting one. Number 3, we've discussed tech and materials in high contact areas. So how is this going to translate into technology and the materials we use? We've seen a lot of things about especially high contact touch points like doors and elevators. Are there going to be sanitation stations and lobbies? Are doors and elevators going to all be voice automated? How is that going to work in high trafficked areas? We've also heard materials are probably going to look more like healthcare materials. Number 4, designers are choreographers in shaping space. That was said on one of our calls today and I really loved it. Just like flow is going to be important when we go back. People have mentioned things like even in grocery stores it being like a 1 lane, only 1 person, through each lane. And just like in a museum, we had a museum exhibit designer from New York today talk about how a museum is going to change because of all of the interactive elements that happen currently. Those will probably go away, but also directing people through the museum and really curating that experience. So we kind of feel like that's next geners across the board. I felt like that's going to be kind of an interesting thing too. So I know that was a lot of information. It's just an overview of our calls, but we wanted to share with you a little bit of a recap of what's going on since we talked to 129 designers. So we got a lot of insight this quickly. Things have definitely changed fast. People who were on the city calls last week compared to the national calls they jumped on this week, they have a different even outlook on what's happening and a different pulse on it. So we'll keep you updated as we go. We're doing another round of national calls next week, but it'll be interesting to see kind of how we can all come together and really progress through this thing together. And as a design industry and as a design community, we want to reach out and make sure that everyone feels like they're not alone. So that's what we're going to keep doing. That's our whole goal, and we hope you do the same and stay well, stay healthy, and we'll talk to you soon.